President Trump says that Israel and Hamas have agreed to an initial phase of a plan to end the war in Gaza. Joining us right now is former U.S. Trade Representative Michael Froman. He's currently president of the Council on Foreign Relations. And Michael, this is monumental at this point. Celebrations broke out not just among Israeli families of the hostages, but also among Palestinians yesterday on news of this. How much is riding on this? How much hope do you have on this? How likely is this to go ahead?
Well, first of all, I think this is an important step in terms of getting the hostages, the live hostages out, hopefully all the hostages out of Gaza, getting humanitarian aid in, 400 trucks a day to come in, having the beginning of some of the Israeli withdrawal out of the Rafah area, out of Gaza City, and I think it should be celebrated as an important development. The question is down the road, will this then lead to phase 2, phase 3, where Hamas agrees to give up its weapons, agrees not to participate in the governance of Gaza, an international security force comes together, and some governance structure is put in place to begin to reconstruct Gaza. But the step one itself is very important.
The Israeli cabinet still has to sign off on this today. There's been at least one member who I know has said he probably won't vote for it, but there's a lot of pressure on them. I anticipate that this will be passed.
I think that's right. Even if members of his own government, and he has a minority government right now, Netanyahu does, Lapid has said that they will support him either way, and so this should be able to get through.
What has to happen in order for phase 2? Walk us through phase 2, phase 3, and what has to happen to get us there.
First, the phase 1 has to be fully implemented, and both sides have to have confidence that the other is actually adhering to the agreement. I think the next stages are harder because effectively President Trump is asking Hamas to stop being Hamas, to give up its weapons and to give up its role in governing Gaza, and that's a fundamental change. They're under a lot of pressure from the other Arab states, and so that's a positive new development there. And then the other pieces need to come into place as well. An international security force of Arab forces and others, the beginnings of some governance structure to put in place there. Those are going to take a longer period of time. But if they can implement phase 1, if they can build confidence that both sides are serious about moving forward, then there's hope for phase 2 and 3.
If Hamas does agree to effectively shut itself down and take itself out of the running of Gaza, who steps in to fill that void? That's
the big question. I mean, what people have said is that Hamas can't do it, and the Palestinian Authority, as it currently stands, can't do it either. And so they need to create some new structure, technocrats, Palestinian technocrats, under some board that Tony Blair and President Trump and others, may put in place to oversee it. But I think that these are all new questions that haven't yet been fully fleshed out.
The other players in the Middle East, the other countries there, that's what you mentioned, the pressure that came from them to make this happen. Who are the key players there? What needs to happen to make sure that they continue to put that pressure on?
Well, look, Qatar, Saudi, UAE, Egypt has played an important role here. A number of countries have put pressure on. There isn't any great love lost between those countries and Hamas to begin with, but I think what has come, particularly after the Israeli attack on Doha, was that the fundamental situation evolved, where Qatar wanted guarantees from the U.S. for security, and the price of those guarantees was them putting the ultimate pressure on Hamas to come to the table and agree to this.
Let me ask you an economic question. Of all the Middle Eastern countries, if this all happens and there is stability, who wins?
Yeah, yet to be seen who's going to participate in this. Is the money going to come from the Gulf, from the UAE, Saudi Arabia, Qatar? Will a more normal relationship with Egypt continue to evolve? Will they benefit from trade back and forth if there's real normalization between Gaza and the rest of the region? So it remains to be seen. They're going to need a lot of money coming in. It's going to take years, if not decades, to rebuild.
But there's always been a little bit of a risk premium to dealing with, frankly, all the countries in the Middle East. Does this change that?
I think stability in the region certainly changes the risk profile of the region. You've already seen, over the last several years, just think about how different the region is now than it was before, with the destruction of a lot of these proxies, with the fall of Syria, with the neutering of Iran in many respects. It's become a more stable region. You've seen, obviously, investments flowing back and forth between the U.S., UAE, Saudi, et cetera. This, I think, further stabilizes it if it can be implemented. And the question will be, it's also very possible the phase 1 gets implemented, hostages are released, humanitarian goes aid, but the war continues at some ongoing level, and that again creates greater uncertainty.
It's unfathomable to think I mean, the 21st century is pretty nice. It's a pretty nice place for the West, is it not? I mean, don't they want that? Can you ever imagine the day where you think of the Middle East that way?
It has changed so much, as you said. The security situation has changed, the economic situation, social situation in some of these
Saudi
countries.
Arabia, you think it's
Saudi Arabia.
It's what we've been. It's the spring that we were hoping for. I don't know whether you refer to it. Obviously, not all Arab countries, but the Arab Spring that we wanted. How long ago was that already?
2010 or so.
So 15.
12.
See, things go. So that was 15 years ago. I mean, I'm afraid to even hope for it, but can you imagine? I mean, it'd be a really robust place, business, everything.
And there's a lot of activity going on.
And it's a good century to be in instead of being stuck. I don't know what century a lot of the Middle East has been stuck in.
Still a long way to go, particularly on the political side, but you're absolutely right. On the economic, on the social side, there's been significant progress, and it's been very good for the region and for the rest of the world.
How willing will Israel be in terms of going along with something once they have the hostages back, though? How much room will they give to the idea of Palestinian statehood and whatever else might come along with that?
I think it really depends on how fully the ceasefire is implemented. If Hamas continues to make rocket attacks, or there continues to be tension across whatever the demarcation line is, it gives Israel an excuse to go back in and
say we're not going to do this
and continue to try and finish the job, so to speak. Also, they're under tremendous pressure from President Trump and the U.S. President Trump basically told the Israelis they had to stop bombing. Made Netanyahu apologize for bombing in Doha, and brought him to a table in a way that was quite powerful. So if that pressure, I think, is going to continue to be necessary to keep Israel from the U.S. perspective, but also Hamas from the Arabs' perspective on track.
Is that different enough for this time? And I go back to Clinton and Arafat and what we thought was real promise and potential at that point. What went wrong then, and how do we prevent that from happening again?
I think President Trump has sort of inserted himself in a way to say, okay, he's got a relationship with Netanyahu, with the Israelis, to be able to deliver, perhaps, more than previous presidents have been able to. In the past, there's been a lot of incentives. Here, he's used a lot of stick.